Thermal Sound Wave.
It's Thermal Sound Waves, the natural alternative to fast food radio. We here see Truth, Kev Lawrence. That's what it is. Right now, we have a guest that's joining us. Someone who does some big things and great things. He's come a long way.
They move product.
And but not the product he probably thinking of. You know?
Right. Not ice cream.
A lot of stuff in the sports apparel world.
That is correct.
And
he crosses the finish line. All the
time. No doubt. And I'm sure you've seen his work on display, throughout the country and worldwide and online and all that kind of good stuff. We have none other than joining us right now is Ronnie Jefferson, the Senior VP and General Merchandise Manager of Finish Line and Finish Line Macy's.
Wow.
We are talking to an executive right now within the sports apparel and sportswear world on Thermal Sound Waves. As you can see, the diversity of our guest list, we get something like that, and we're equipped like that. That's what we do here. What's happening, Ronnie?
What's going on, family? Pleasure being a part of the podcast here, man. Happy to come in here and drop some jewels.
Yes. And, not just podcasts, on air too as well. Not just podcasts.
On air, podcast, the world, nationwide.
Media, exactly.
Make sure I get your money's worth.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly.
We just crossing the finish line. That's what we're doing.
That's right. Yes, indeed. Now, you've come a long way and, proud Southeast DC.
DC. Mambo sauce. That's sauce.
Mambo sauce. Chicken wings with the mambo sauce.
That's right. So tell everybody just a little bit about growing up in Southeast DC, and then we'll get into like your journey from there into being a senior VP at a brand like Finish Line and Finish Line Macy's, and you do some things with music too that we'll get into.
Yeah. For me, man, growing up in DC, and I grew up in DC because I know a lot of times when people say, well, where are you from? You say DC. You ask them and they say, oh, I'm actually in Virginia. I'm actually Maryland. Now, Southeast
Silver
DC.
Springs.
Gotcha. Yeah. But back then, Southeast DC is definitely I'll say a training day, learning everything. I mean, but I wasn't training for the world. I was right outside of Berry Farms, grew up in DC. Wow. Yeah. So, and back then, it was definitely survival mode. I learned a lot what to do, what not to do, and that actually a lot of that has helped me maneuver through the I would say the corporate world / business world too. So
I hear the DC accent coming out. Yeah, help me. What to do, what not to do. Like I hear it. I hear it over there. It's coming through. It's coming through.
Those times in my life going up there, man, it was actually fantastic. It was actually great because at that point in time, man, even though we lived in the hood, my mom would say we live in the hood, but you don't have to act and live like you living in the hood. Meaning our place was immaculate, clean. It was a lot that you learned, and I knew how to wash clothes before knew about a washing machine and walking them in the tub. So. It was a lot of things that helped me to this point as a man.
I want to go back and ask something. Excuse me. Berry Farms, correct?
Yeah, Berry Farms.
Now, was that linked to Marion Barry?
Absolutely. And it was a reason why
who he is too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reason why he got went through his ordeal and got elected because he did a lot for the people. And so for you to go through that and then come back and get elected, that's not by choice. That's not by chance. Meaning, so whether
for people out there that don't know, Marion Barry was a representative of the people of D.C., a congressman, and did a lot, and he got caught up in a certain scandal. However, sometimes people make jokes of the scandal, but you got to say to yourself, for you to get caught up in the scandal, which I kind of feel was kind of funny. I feel it was a setup. It's what it is. I feel it was a setup, as well as many other people. But listen, it happened, but for you to still get that much love and respect from the people, that means you was really doing a lot for the people.
Yes, that's exactly right. He was one of the biggest firsts of DC summer jobs, which I was a part of too.
Program.
Yeah. So with summer youth program and it extended, and I was a product of that. And man, I go back now and I'm like, oh my goodness, what has happened? What's changed for the better? But I'm thinking about if we would just saved and held on to that property. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Shout out to
Financial
Anwan
education.
Glover. I know he's still working in the neighborhoods out there, trying to do a lot for the people out there. Shout out to him because he also mentions that stuff. Like, he said he has to stay out there because if he doesn't stay, it's gonna go somewhere else.
Indeed.
No doubt.
But so I went through that, and then from working there, and then also once I started to make my journey, and I played basketball. Actually, I was pretty good in that zone, and then
what position did you play?
I was point guard,
Okay.
and I played basketball, and then I actually moved to Woodbridge, Virginia, where my mother was. And I had some knee injuries, which I thought I was going to move on and go to to college and beyond, and that didn't work out for me because of some big knee injuries, and I started working at Foot Locker part time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a love for sneakers as a kid,
Right.
huge love for sneakers,
Now,
and so.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it starts back there when you think about a passion that you might have that will, eventually take you around the world. And we'll talk about that. But
Wow.
that was just one of those situations where I had a love for sneakers. Who didn't as a kid at that time? You had a love for sneakers, and it just materialized for me.
Who does that remind you of, C-Truth?
Oh,
I'm sorry?
Like
of
that.
course, Ope and Sean Williams, sneaker disorder, are a guy that has a whole
Yeah, listen to
situation.
the podcast.
Yeah. He turned his love into an entire career for himself, and
Curator at Drexel.
teaches at Drexel University, as a matter of fact. With all that, but for you, how did you take that? Starting at Foot Locker and taking that passion, and then ending up a executive at the finish line. From Foot Locker, how did you get into the whole finish line dynamic?
How much time we get?
We don't got that much time. We can't go into hours and hours of stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna give you the quick version. So, I started, like I said, I was selling part time, and then I was a very good salesperson, even part time. I mean that whole persistence of knowing customers and being able to sell them something, and they saw something to me that I didn't see. From listen, when you graduate high school, we want to offer you to go get into the management program. And at that time, I played basketball. I was really good. When I had those knee injuries, I did enough just to pass. So I didn't have enough academics to go to college, or we couldn't afford to go, the money to go to college. So 2 weeks after I graduated, I was, moved to Richmond, Virginia, where, I didn't know anyone there. And I was the absolute worst manager you could ever meet. Absolute worst.
This is honest.
Yeah, no, I'm hopefully people will be able to understand this drip was I could sell, but managing people was my way of the highway. And listen, to the point where I came in and I tried to fire some people 2 days in, and Foot Locker recognized, hey man, we like you. You got a good situation. You can sell. But in order for you to move through this, you're going to have to take some anger management courses. If not, you're going to be going packing back to D.C. from Richmond, Virginia. And
Wow.
so,
At least I gave you an option.
Yeah, normally is that
So,
tap on the shoulder.
Yeah. So you come back and you go, okay, well, I can go home packing, or I can realize, let me take this opportunity of I'm out on my own. I'm 18, new apartment, don't know nothing as far as, other than what I've learned at how to survive. So I take the anger management classes. But what happened, I found out that I learned a lot about myself around how to maneuver people, and then how to, when someone's come already prepared to be angry with you, you come the opposite. It changes the whole narrative.
Absolutely.
And so people can prepare for you when they're upset, right? They know they're mad. They think you're mad. They're already ready. And a lot of times you get in arguments, it's really about how you came at someone versus what you actually even arguing about. You don't even know what you're talking about. So I learned that. And then as I started learning, I said, you know what, I'm going to stay for another 6 months after the courses, because now I can become the puppet master. And that's what I did. And and from that, I was able to maneuver and go from that to getting my own store. I was probably one of the first male managers of a lady Foot Locker.
Wow.
And so a lady Foot Locker.
Lady Foot Locker, one of the first
in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yep. That's a great town. I got some memories there, but that's another situation.
And me being a suave and knowing situation, I mean, I was able to move through that and win all types of awards there. But I had what you call that entrepreneur spirit. I had my uncle in DC who owned the nightclubs, and pretty much at an age for me, 16, 17, I was doing bar back things, learning about the club, and then knowing how to promote from an early age. So when I got to South Carolina and working at Lady Foot Locker, I started throwing small parties, and the parties emerged to being bigger parties. In fact, I was selling tickets to my parties inside of the Lady Foot Locker. And so, the customers asked me, so what is these people in here buying? I was like, I actually do parties. And one of my customers wound up, her husband was the director of the Carolina Coliseum, or USC Gamecocks, and Columbia, South Carolina. She said, well, I need to introduce you to him. And we got to talking, and he was like, how many people are you getting? I said, I get about 300 to 400 people. He said, well, okay, well, listen, we have this thing called the President's Ball. We can leave everything up. You come in and do your party. You get a portion of parking. You get this. And I said, well, I have a not-for-profit organization, and, I tell him what I do. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So when he gives me that, I go, okay, how can I make this bigger? I go and do a commercial, call it Ballers Fest. And now I'm on TV, because spots on BET and ESPN back then was like $13. And the biggest portion of shooting that commercial was like $300 was production. So now now it's a party that's bigger than life, and you get 2 DJs. You do with the personalities from the radio station with a live remote. Now I was able to with a partner of mine do this party, and after everything was paid and done, I walk away with $50,000. And so now, and the club owners, they hated me in South Carolina. When I threw a party, everything shut down.
Right.
Everybody was coming to my party.
Ballers Fest.
Back
in the day,
did we get an invite? We didn't get an invite though. We didn't get no invite.
Yeah. Well, we ain't no Ronnie then, so
but still, you could have went back into the future.
Yeah, you got to be thinking about this is in the '90s. So baller, you was a baller back then. That meant something back then. But
that is a '90s word though. Baller.
And we had a unbelievable turnout, and at that point, I decided I want to get into the club business. And so I was able to resign from Lady Foot Locker and go into a nightclub and concert promoting venture that spanned almost 11 years for me. Nice. And I was able to learn quite a bit about life, gentlemen. When you moving through the venture of money only, and you learn quickly.
Yes.
When we were learning, from that point, having $36,000 every weekend to low, and don't get me wrong, at that point I had houses, 3 houses, cars, boat, the whole 9 yards. And then at one point it comes to you that, you got a partner and you got 2 nightclubs now. I got one in Columbia, one in Augusta, Georgia. And, this disposable income. But at this point, your mindset, you're not investing. You have these houses, but you're renting, because you're not thinking outside of, I'm going to have this every weekend. And it comes a point where it's like, okay, God's going to say, let me show you something real quick. And I had a partner that didn't understand that club business situation. And while we was doing doing concerts, actually my first big major concert was Master P and the No Limit All-Stars. This was after the big incident in Atlanta.
With Pastor Troy.
Yeah, well, actually, when they had that big concert there and they didn't have the right security, and this is when the infancy of Master, and they had this big airplane hangar out there, and they had this concert, and Master P made CNN because the moment he said, everybody jumped on stage, and he didn't do the show because they didn't have the security. And he left, and that made the next show, because people tore it up out there. That made the next show go from small amount for insurance bar. Well, now you had to have $1 million.
Because when Master P and No Limit did Bout It,
yes,
clubs were shut down. It was massive brawl. It was just go. It was just go time.
Yeah, it was to that.
They banned that from a lot of clubs. They banned it in Virginia. I was in Virginia. They banned it in parts of Virginia, Norfolk, Val Beach, and other places. They banned that club, that song.
Yeah, I mean, it was that and Tear the Club Up. You couldn't play that.
Mafia.
But so when they did that, so that makes and we had the next 2 shows in Charlotte and then Columbia, South Carolina after that. A lot of learnings I learned. So I was like, okay, I have to be $1 million insurance bond. Okay, what do we do? So, me and my partner started thinking. I said, well, this, hip hop is a part of R&B. So now we're going to insure this concert under R&B concert using Percy Miller, Mia X real name, all these real name. We used their real names and got it down to 16,000. This is where you make lemons out of lemonade, because
right.
At that point, and funny, at that point the shows is 30,000. So we done paid a 30,000 up front, 15 and 15 for both shows, and so now we got that covered. We good, right? And it's something I learned real quick that back we, as black folks, we wasn't using credit cards. The walk-up game was strong.
Rubber bands.
So the day of the concert, my stomach hurting because we only had 750 tickets sold. I done did a dinner. I did a breakfast outside. Wow. Coming by the tickets beforehand, we got breakfast. We got shaving dishes, serving grits and eggs. Ain't nobody standing outside. But the day of the concert, we walk up 7,000. Now, the first concert was in Charlotte. And so we there. I got the whole, I got everybody. Masterpiece, Silk Saka, True, Mystical, Mia X, everybody. And so we sitting there, we having a good time talking. And now the day of the show, I come up to Master P and I got my cashier's check. I'm ready to go. Here you go. And he looked at me, he said, yo, young blood, what you gonna do with that? I said, that's cash. That's cashier. He said, I'm gonna cut it up in pieces. He said, if you don't get cash, man, we don't go on. So good luck. So that's when you learn real quick. Okay, now I got it. And I can't pull anything off the door. Right. Because based on what it is, Ticketmaster, if they don't hit the stage, they're going to refund everybody money.
Right.
So
what happened?
This is where, back then, the street knowledge, certain people that, and gotcha. I was able to raise the money to come up with it and give them the cash. And,
gotcha.
And we went on and we had an unbelievable 2 shows. But I realized real quick that I got to think outside the box. And the next couple ones was, now I'm talking to, I'm at in Vegas at these club conventions and talking about other people. And they talking about, I got Reba McEntire. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I sold out 3 shows in 30 minutes. I'm like, who?
Right.
So I had to learn real quick. It can't be the things that I love. It's got to be outside of that. And probably my most successful was, Kenny G or doing some
Kenny G?
concerts. Nice. Yeah, with gospel concerts and those things where you selling out this quickly and you don't have any issues and everybody's getting home and there's but I say all that, I go through those things and then we come back off of a show tour and my partner who really don't understand the club business, he lets someone come in and do a 18 to party, 21 to drink in Augusta, Georgia. And it little to say it's 40, 60 infraction of underage drinking. And so you lose your liquor license. And that's when reality set in real quick. And,
so
you lose a lot of money.
So what was the switch off then? What was the zone to the to the man-to-man defense that you had to pull off after all this to get you to finish line? Let's move it up. Let's move it up.
So to move it up real quickly, I lose $1 million.
Yikes.
I lose $1 million because when the club closed down and all the things that I put into this club, you don't have a liquor license, you learn real quickly. And so, and honestly, guys, the best thing ever happened to me. Because the thing you learn real quick, people you think won't will, opposed you think won't, that actually think will, they won't. And so I learned quickly when I moved back to Washington, D.C., sleeping on my brother's couch and thinking that things are going to fall in the sky because you done did so much. And you still living like you still making $1 million a year. And although I lost that $1 million, I'll go back home with about 200 and I'm still spending like I'm making $1 million. And you go through it real quick. And after about these 10 months, I'm sitting there on my brother's couch and, it always takes something that rocks you to the core. And for me, it was, hey, I need you to, my brother, can you clean my room up? I got somebody coming over. Sure, no problem. And he gives me $100 bill. And at that point, I look at $100 bill and I go, you driving a $100,000 car you can't put gas in. You had 3 houses, cars, boats, and you just cleaned your brother for $100. So what are you going to do? Either you're going to split your wrist or you want to bet on self. What do you like doing? What are you going to do with your life? And at that point, I go to the dollar store. I remember it like it was yesterday, and I buy a dry eraser board. Because one thing about me and most people, if you can, in your mind, you can fake the phone. You can say, oh, I put this off, why I ain't do it, or why I moved this way. But when you write it down and you have to look at it every day, you disappoint yourself. Now, of course, when you write down goals, you have to look at them, and you come from making $1 million, you're going to write some stupid stuff down. Oh, $1 million in the bank in 2 months. Well, you ain't got $500. So it really is, let's get to the real core. Get off my brother's, find a job. Get off my brother's couch, getting you to a space. And it's the smallest piece for me is what got me, you get your Bobo back. You start to cross that off, and therapeutic-wise is what gets you back. And I had to get back to finding love. What did I really love doing? It was people, selling, and those things. And so I had a very good friend of mine. We went to high school together. He worked for this company called Nordstrom's. And he told me, he's like, Ronnie, I knew your work ethic when people was doing this and partying going, you was working. I heard all the Al Bundy jokes, all that stuff. He's like, you come down to Atlanta, I can get you an interview. And, of course, me being me, I'm like, well, I can't come in on the floor. I got at least come in as a manager. He's like, nah, my friend, it don't work like that. You got Blake Nordstrom's. They started out in the stock room, and so you had to swallow that pride. And I go in for an interview. They like me, of course, and I get the job, right?
Right.
Now you gotta understand, I'm just coming up being a club owner, and so I'm at Nordstrom's. I'm popping in there with the Zanetti suits on, lion green, purple, now later gators.
Right.
You said now
and and I'm telling people, like, what you talking about, man? This is a netty. You understand what this is?
Right.
And they looking at me like, we gotta hire the pimp in here.
right.
DC pimp.
Get back there and go restock section number.
Exactly.
How you restock in Zeddy?
Listen, and I'm on this floor here. I'm in Atlanta, and these old dudes, they looking at me like, what? Who they just hired in here? And they're not teaching me nothing. And I knew a lot about sneakers. I didn't know nothing about dress shoes, right?
Right.
Other than, I wear dress shoes or, gators at that point. And so I had to kind of start, ear hustling, reading the tech tags. And I was tested my first week, because when I was in Columbia, South Carolina, we used to do these things called hair battles with Bronner Brothers.
Brothers.
And so,
shout to the Bronner Brothers.
Infamous, right?
Yeah.
And one of the VPs come in, he see me, and back then they called me Big Ron, even though I was 112 pounds, but I used to do everything big, so everybody called me Big Ron.
Was it Bernard that you met up with?
Yeah, and we did hair battles in Columbia, and he see me, he's like, oh, I know you about to buy up the place. Now at that point, that's where your pride take place, or you're going to go one or two things. I'm going to act like I'm a customer, or I'm going to run, or I'm going to ask them what size you need in these Ferragamos. We're going to talk about what happened to me later. And, I went with option 3. He's like, what? Are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, man, look here. We can talk about that later. Let me size you up for these Ferragamos, right?
Right.
And at that point, I was like, that's when your pride, you kick to the side, and you go, now I'm hungry. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to move with this opportunity. And so I had to find a way to maneuver with these other gentlemen I was working with. So my big thing was, I don't care if you bought a Jesus sandal and a New Balance sneaker. I'm going to write you a thank you note every customer.
Gotcha.
And these guys look at me like, why are you writing a thank you? This guy's spending $90. I said, the guy who came in and spent $5,000, he expecting that from you. Would you think this dude here that has bought these New Balance, $90, and I wrote him a hand note, what you think he's going to do? He's going to tell somebody. And that's what happened. The referrals started coming in. When they come in, I said, if I'm selling you the shoe, I'm saying, you got to have the belt. And by the time we walk all the way through, we walk back.
Right.
That $80 is now $340, or I'm selling everything between the lady sitting there. If she buying shoes with her husband, I'm like, you got to get something for her. So these sales added up to I was able to go from the floor to the buying office.
Gotcha.
Literally in a year in about 8 months. So one thing I did know was the motivation of people. And then now that I went to those anger management, I knew how to get people to work for you, not work for you out of fear, but work for you not to disappoint. And it was a great journey, taking that piece and going from that to the buying office at Nordstrom's. And at Nordstrom's, when you become a buyer, it was you kind of have the God syndrome, right? Because everybody wants to sell you. Long story short, I went there and went from to the, I was only a manager for 8 months at Nordstrom's in the men's shoe department. Because, my first day there, I'm sitting on the shoe shine stand. And if you ever shopped at Nordstrom, you understand, no matter what you ask for, they're going to bring out 3 shoes in the shoe tray. And so I'm in D.C. I'm back home in D.C. at Pentagon City, and I'm watching from the shoe shine stand. And I'm seeing people come out the back room and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have your size." And I'm like, in the meantime, I'm thinking, how this department had made this month in 2 years. How am I going to change? I'm thinking all this crazy stuff. Then I'm watching from the shoe sign stand. I'm like, oh, I'm about to be a hero. So then I get out of the shoe sign stand. I started walking out and started going to get service from all these different, and they pass me around. They come out the back. Nah, we ain't got your size. I'm like, okay, I got it. Next morning I show up. Hey, how you doing? Ronnie Jefferson, department manager. And they all looking at me like, oh my God. I said, yeah, that look you got right now, usually that'll take about 2 months, but you got about a week. And here's how we're going to run this. And so we broke all records. Actually, when we got there, we were down about 100,000 for the month. We closed at the miss by 15,000. And when we did, the national sales manager called me and was like, what did you guys do? So he comes down, and him and I have an instant bond. And most people are deaf scared of him. But you understand, I just was making $1 million a year. So I don't have scared of nothing because I'm figuring I'm working now. I got to get back. And so, long story short, met him. He was with Nordstrom about 27 years. Now I'm in Chicago as the buyer, and I'm doing a store visit here in Indianapolis. Downtown Indianapolis. I'm doing a store visit. I run into him, and he's like, Ronnie, man, I've been trying to reach you. Man, I got an opportunity for you. I'm working for Finish Line. You should come in and meet the founders. And, at this point, I'm like, okay. I'm like, sure, no problem. I'll come back and do. But, at this point, I'm like, Finish Line. I'm at Nordstrom.
Right.
Come in, I meet the founders, and man, I got to tell you, I'm cocky with it. They're like, so why do you want to leave? Why do you want to leave Nordstrom? I said, I don't. I'm just here to figure out what your company is about. I'm talking to them, and next I'm in 20 interviews, and so the next day I don't have no resume, no nothing. I'm just off the cuff. So I get back to Nordstrom the next day. I get the phone call. Man, they love me, and we want to offer you the job, vice president, GMM of lifestyle and kids footwear.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Great. I hang up and I duck them for 3 months.
Oh, you was gambling. Oh, you was a gambling man.
So we're running out of time. So what happened after 3 months?
I ducked them for 3 months because I was scared of I was running from prosperity, scared. Gotcha. Because what society, because you understand, I never went to college. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, what was brought up to you was you are, what's successful is, you got to have a college degree and all those different things. So, I'm thinking, okay, man, they're going to find you out. You ain't going to, you vice president, they're going to find you. And so in your mind, you're going through all those things. And so when I sit down and finally, Nordstrom called me and said, hey, all the buyers move out here to Seattle. And at the time I had a son that's in Richmond, Virginia. And I said, well, that can't happen. I'm going to go ahead and take the severance pay. And when I did that, they said, don't worry about it. We're going to leave it as is. And I was like, how long do you think that's going to last when your business becomes the best or worse? So I called him and told him, hey, he's like, what happened? Are you in an accident? What's wrong? I was like, no, actually, I was scared. And I was scared because this right here, ... And then he basically said, you know how to run a sales team. You can get along with any race. Your sales tactics, ... And all those things you forget what got you where you were. You forget about them because you think about what society deems successful.
Right.
By the time they sent me the offer letter, it was 2.5 times what I was making it. Beautiful. And that was the last time I ever second guessed what you bring to the table.
Beautiful. It's Thermal Sound Waves, a natural alternative to fast food radio. We're talking to Ronnie Jefferson, Senior VP and GMM of Finish Line Incorporated here on the program.
Wow.
And really quick, as he told you his story, that's a journey right there, and that's something you can learn a lot from that. You can
This
learn
is
a lot
really
from,
educational.
Yes, you can learn from all of that.
Music people, but there's people like this gentleman right here that you could actually use as a template in what you're doing in life or what you're trying to achieve in life.
No question. And real quick, tell everybody what you're doing as an angel investor and your nonprofit and stuff like that.
Yeah, so angel investor, this is where the whole tech company situation of, I try to figure out how to make money for me, and it's through investments. And I didn't know much about the stock market. I started playing with that, but then also looking at these tech companies. This company I just invested in, hopefully it's going to IPO here, deliver in, and as coming as an angel investor. I'm sure you guys may have noticed that, the Snoop Dogg and Nas got in on the Robinhood at, 17 cents and then IPO at 39. If you do the math, $39, that means they're rich off just that investment. And so I seek out things like that to put my money to work for me. And sometimes we scared of the unknown and not knowing, but sometimes it just takes that, that push where, if you look at it, then what we may spend low money on, $5,000 that someone invested with Uber was worth $15 million after 2 years, and that's real.
No question. Absolutely. Yeah. And listen, you're also running the Bag music group as well. And what we're gonna have you do is we're gonna have you come back on the show to talk about all of those different.
Yes, we'd love to.
Because it's a lot of other things as well that you're doing, but we just don't have the time to get into all that.
I wouldn't be shocked if him and our guy Carlos, aka Long Beach Los, have some type of footwear wheels thing going on.
Yes. I mean, Los is a good friend of mine, and then I would love to have a conversation of part 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, no question.
It's a lot.
That's gonna happen.
By the way, Ronnie, size 12. That's what I'm saying for both
size
of us.
12?
Size 12.
Yeah, me and Kev size 12.
We ain't talking about no 1 or 2. Like, come on, like we trying to walk size up 12. In there with the bags, Ronnie.
Hold on, man. I'm looking at these big baller brands I got right here. I'm gonna send out.
All right, man.
Oh no,
man. Shout out to the Lamar and the whole family. Yeah. I know there's a pause there of the big baller brand.
100%.
I actually would wear because they 100%, and he's a father that believed in his children. So shout 100%. To him, happy Father's Day to him. But you a fool, Ronnie. You a fool.
and listen, you're located in Naptown right now, right? That's where that's the center. Okay, we're on in the area over there. So when we're gonna come out there sometime this year. So when we do, we coming to see you.
Absolutely, man. I'll be happy to pick you guys up, and I roll kind of heavy, and the city know who I am, so we good. I got you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Talk about
and big shout out to Los, cause I know somebody's mad at him because he was out in his car listening to the versus battle. He's supposed to come inside and eat an omelet, and I said, "You can blame me, Los. Just blame me." She told me to come inside. I was like, all right, I got you, bro. I got you. Inside joke.
Yeah, well, listen, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. And as you already know, we're going to have you back to continue the conversation and to get these lessons.
There's a lot.
We're going to talk more about the finances and the education on all that kind of stuff and stocks and real estate and so forth, man. So we appreciate you taking some time out.
I'm truly looking forward to it, and man. Listen, I think that there's so many gems that we can talk on that can help other people, and again, also shout out to, like you said, LeVar, because I appreciate anytime a brother be out there doing their business and get their sons to the NBA from what that is. So that's just no joke. So I appreciate that 100%. So indeed,
no doubt, no doubt. All right, Ron, well, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, and all that kind of good stuff, man, and we'll be looking out for that.
We're coming to Naptown, and we want the package, too. Listen, stop playing, right? Listen, I'm trying to run my finish line. Like, excuse me, do you know who I know? Do you know who I know? I'm trying to be the black Karen at finish line. Let's do it.
Indeed.
Right.
Looking forward to it. Okay.
All right, Ron.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.
Thermal sound wave.